I want to thank the ranking member. Now I recognize the gentlelady from South Carolina, Ms. Biggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses for being here today. As the United States gears up to welcome the world for the 2026 FIFA World Cup and the 2028 Olympic Games, our national travel infrastructure stands at a crucial juncture demanding comprehensive readiness. The influx of international visitors for these events will place unprecedented demands on our transportation networks and border security. The recent executive order signed by President Trump creating the World Cup Task Force signifies a critical recognition of the imperative for seamless interagency collaboration. This dedicated task force will be instrumental in strategically preparing our ports of entry, modernizing airport facilities and operations, and fortifying supporting systems such as customs and border protection, security protocols, and transportation logistics. So to Mr. Freeman, how should the World Cup Task Force prioritize its efforts to address operational challenges at our airports and our ports of entry?
Thank you for the question, Congresswoman. I think it's critical as the World Cup Task Force gets up and running that first we acknowledge we're already behind the 8 ball. The World Cup starts in about 15 months. Other countries are already planning, for the 2029 World Cup, the 2030 World Cup. That planning is already ahead of where we are. So we've got to acknowledge we're already behind the 8 ball. I have all the faith in the world in the local destinations that are hosting the World Cup. They have been coordinating. I think they're going to do a great job. The question really becomes in terms of getting people to the games, moving about the U.S. and moving into the United States. I think for the domestic traveler, we're going to see concerns when it comes to moving people through the airports. The demand that we're going to see is basically a Thanksgiving every day for about the 45 days of the World Cup. We all know what it's like traveling on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. That's what we can expect. It begs the question, what are the things we can do to be more efficient during that period? And this task force is critical about aligning the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Transportation, and other relevant agencies to ensure we can meet that demand. For the foreign travelers coming in, the truth is we're already too late for some of them. I mentioned the wait times for Colombians to get a visa. If they don't have their visa now for the World Cup in 26, their window is closed. That's shame on us, right? That's opportunity missed for the United States. And then we've got to identify what are the other markets where that window is already closing, and how do we process visas quickly in those markets so we can help those travelers get here. When we know they're coming, customs will be the final area where this task force has to work closely with DHS, with other elements of the government to ensure that we don't have 2, 3, 4-hour wait times to get through Miami, to get through LAX, to get through JFK. That is a tremendous concern of ours. There is nothing more predictable than when a plane is going to land, how many people are on it, and who those people are. So there's no excuse to not be staffed appropriately to move these travelers through, and that's where the task force needs to be focused.
Thank you so much for your insight. My second question, Mr. Gruen, with major international events acting as high-profile targets for bad actors, how do you think the task force should integrate threat intelligence, interagency coordination, and emerging technologies like counter-UAS and AI-enabled surveillance into the strategic planning?
Thank you, Congresswoman. Your second point, technology needs to be procured and deployed now. So we recommend 12 months out from events to really get the technology on the ground, get the personnel trained, and run through different scenarios to mitigate threats. So we believe the task force needs to do that aspect. Part of that is also going to be authorities to enable local and state law enforcement to have the authorities to mitigate large threats such as drones when they're on the ground. So again, prioritizing that we are behind the power curve on this. We need the task force to prioritize the procurement and deployment of technologies and the training of personnel so that we have adequate protection.
Thank you so much. My time has expired, so I yield back.